Welcome to Movie Rehash. Today, I am going to explain an action thriller movie released in 2024 titled RoadHouse. Spoiler ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie starts within an underground fight circuit. Carter Ford exerts dominance within the ring, catching the attention of Frankie, a bar owner. Following Carter's victory over his opponent, another fighter named Elwood Dalton steps into the ring. Carter immediately identifies him and declines to fight, resulting in Dalton still receiving his earnings without a fight. After losing $500 from the fight, a man stabs Dalton outside, but upon realizing Dalton's resilience, the man quickly flees. Frankie approaches Dalton as he attends to his wound, mentioning her establishment, the RoadHouse, situated in the Floridian community of Glass Key. She extends an offer to Dalton to work as a bouncer there. Although initially hesitant, Dalton eventually agrees, recognizing he has few other prospects in life. Upon his arrival in Glass Key, Dalton encounters Charlie, a teenage bookstore owner, and her father, Stephen. They graciously provide Dalton with a complimentary book and point him in the direction of the RoadHouse. Upon reaching his destination, Dalton is introduced to employees Billy and Laura before diving into his new role. As night falls, Dalton observes as Billy and the other male employees contend with rowdy individuals. Shortly thereafter, a biker gang led by Dell storms in, causing chaos among the staff and customers. Despite Dalton's calm attempts to reason with Dell, he is met with hostility. Dalton then ventures outside toward the gang's parked bikes, intentionally provoking Dell further. Threatened with violence, Dalton retaliates by striking Dell, swiftly incapacitating him along with the rest of the bikers. Taking charge, Dalton assumes responsibility for transporting the injured gang members to the hospital. However, upon leaving, he encounters criticism from a doctor named Ellie, who admonishes him for bringing in the bikers and diverting attention from more urgent cases. Despite initial tension, Dalton's charm eventually wins Ellie over, leading her to provide medical care for his own injuries. Dalton chooses to spend the night sleeping in a boat on the lake, despite Frankie's warning about the presence of a nearby crocodile. As he drifts off, Dalton finds himself engulfed in a dream, vividly recalling his final round as a UFC fighter. The next day, Dell and his accomplices make their way to a yacht owned by the notorious crime boss, Ben Brandt, for whom they are in service. They recount their encounter with Dalton, emphasizing how he effortlessly defeated them. Concerned about the potential threat Dalton poses to his operations in town, Brandt instructs them to eliminate him using any means necessary. Dalton quickly becomes a recognizable figure among the locals, with other troublemakers backing off upon sighting him. Dalton guides Billy and the rest of the crew on effectively managing unruly patrons. He demonstrates his keen eye for danger by identifying a man concealing a knife and swiftly disarming him before escorting him out of the RoadHouse. Following a grueling night at work, Dalton begins his journey home, only to face a perilous encounter with Dell and his cronies, who try to run him over in Dell's girlfriend's truck. Despite their efforts, Dalton is sent plummeting off a bridge, miraculously surviving the fall. Upon reaching his residence, Dalton is met by Dell, who confronts him with a gun. Engaging in another intense altercation, Dalton ultimately prevails, sending Dell tumbling into the water below. Despite Dalton's attempts to rescue him, Dell falls victim to the lurking crocodile's appetite before he can be saved. Dalton later learns of the shady business going on in town through Charlie. After he leaves the bookstore, a pair of Brandt's goons try to force Dalton to go with them, but he breaks the fingers off the guy threatening him with a gun. Brandt learns that Dalton cannot be easily defeated, something that even his imprisoned criminal father, Gerald, becomes aware of. Gerald reaches out to Knox, his most ruthless and formidable enforcer, instructing him to travel to Glass Key and handle Dalton. Upon Knox's arrival at Brandt's residence, he informs him of his father's employment, a revelation that elicits discontent from Brandt and his fellow underworld associates. Dalton goes on a date with Ellie, who takes her ex's boat out into the water. She tells Dalton she knows about his past, something that he has been trying to hide from everyone. Although he tries to walk away from Ellie, she gets him to stay and they kiss. Later, Dalton is discovered by Sheriff Big Dick and his corrupt cops. The sheriff commands Dalton to depart from town, but Dalton staunchly refuses. Subsequently, the cops begin to physically assault Dalton, while Sheriff prepares to execute him, only to be interrupted when Ellie arrives and slaps him. She reveals to him the shocking revelation that Sheriff is her father and is colluding with Brandt. With earnest sincerity, Ellie implores Dalton to leave town for his own safety. That evening at the RoadHouse, Brandt makes an appearance and approaches Dalton. He begins to mock Dalton about his history in the UFC, revealing that Dalton left the sport due to a tragic incident where he unintentionally killed his opponent in the ring, even after the referee had called an end to the fight. This event has haunted Dalton ever since. After Brant departs, Knox arrives, instigating trouble by assaulting Billy and other patrons. Dalton intervenes to stop Knox's rampage. Despite Knox posing a formidable challenge, Dalton surprises him by refusing to stay down after taking a severe beating. Ellie arrives on the scene to offer medical assistance. As Dalton is about to leave town, he sees the bookstore on fire, set by Brant's guys, Sam and Vince. He learns that Charlie and Steven are in the hospital but alive. Dalton confronts Vince, who threatens him with a gun. Dalton punches Vince in the throat, causing him to suffocate and die. While hiding Vince's body, Dalton meets Mo, the least bad member of Del's gang. Mo tells Dalton about a meeting Brant and his guys are planning for early the next day. Dalton heads towards the water and stumbles upon one of Sheriff's crooked deputies loading a big case filled with money onto a boat. Dalton incapacitates the deputy, knocking him out. He then strategically places Vince's body alongside the unconscious deputy, framing him for Vince's demise. The sheriff tracks down Dalton and delivers the distressing news that Ellie has been kidnapped by Brant. Dalton reaches Brant's yacht and discovers Sheriff in cahoots with him, realizing it was a trap. However, Brant confesses to the abduction of Ellie. Before the thugs can overwhelm him, Dalton detonates the boat he arrived on, causing chaos. As the yacht begins to sink, Dalton takes on the thugs, overpowering them one by one. Eventually, he locates Ellie and they break through a window and escape from the sinking vessel. Knox arrives in a skiff boat, attempting to eliminate Dalton, while Brant seizes Ellie and flees on a motorboat. Dalton manages to board the motorboat just as Knox plunges into the water. Engaging in a fierce altercation, Dalton confronts Brant, causing the motorboat to crash near the RoadHouse, propelling Brant onto its roof. Meanwhile, Knox emerges from the water, commandeers a truck, and crashes it into the RoadHouse. Fed up with Brant's tyranny, Knox breaks his neck when prompted to kill Dalton. Subsequently, Dalton and Knox engage in a second brutal showdown, with Knox demonstrating formidable strength. Despite Knox's ferocity, Dalton gains the upper hand and incapacitates him by impaling him with wooden debris until he is subdued. Dick arrives and extends his gratitude to Dalton for rescuing Ellie, offering to provide cover for him. With a final glance exchanged between Dalton and Ellie, Dalton departs. Before departing, Dalton makes a final stop at the bookstore to bid farewell to Charlie and Steven. Expressing his goodbyes, Dalton leaves them with a cash bag he retrieved from the deputy. After this, Dalton boards a bus bound for his next destination. During the credits, a scene reveals Knox's survival from the altercation. Despite his injuries, Knox overpowers the medical staff, leaving them beaten, and casually exits the hospital wearing nothing but a gown. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie recaps.